Hello, everyone, and welcome to PropTech Success. We have another episode today, and we're here with Paul Aylett and his company Tivgrow. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Ricardo. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me.
No, thank you. No, thank you. So we actually met last week. You've actually signed up to be one of my beta testers for my app, which is great. And as we were speaking on our call, you mentioned that you actually have your own app. So I thought, you know what, this is a perfect platform to actually get to know what you provide as well. So like what is Tivgrow exactly?
So, Tivgrow is all about helping and educating new investors how to buy their first investment property. And it includes the app includes a video course. That's the main product. And the video course is split over 48 shortish videos, taking the new investors through the various different stages of thinking about becoming a property investor to how to be a landlord. And the reason I set that up was because I got involved with property back in February 2012. Actually, I can remember the date exactly. 14th of February 2012, which is the day, as I like to say, that I fell in love with property, being Valentine's
Nice.
Day. That came about from a phone call from a friend I've known for 30 years, a letting agent at the time. He went on a very, very expensive property course and just phoned me up from a break in there, was so enthusiastic about it. And I really went from there. So I'm a landlord, a portfolio landlord, owning a portfolio of buy-to-let properties. That's been good to me. So 2 years ago, almost to the date, actually, I decided to quit the 9 to 5 job, which was working for the University of London, so I could concentrate fully on Tivgrow. And Tivgrow, as I say, helps new investors via an app. And the reason for setting up, I'm probably answering the questions before you even asking
It's
them, but
fine. No, that's fine.
in
Keep
my
going.
typical fashion. um, but the reason I chose to use an app is simple convenience, flexibility, availability. The course is set up so that the idea was to be 5 minute YouTube style videos that initially that people could watch, say, between tube stations on the London Underground. The fact that nobody's on the London Underground for the last 18 months is neither here nor there, but that was the intention of it. And the course can be watched, wherever there's internet connection, basically.
Mhm.
So it's convenient. There's nobody standing over the students with a big stick. I don't push them. They can do it as quickly. So if they want to do it in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, it's entirely up to them. The videos aren't going to expire; they're not going to run out.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of convenience and affordability. I've targeted initially the 16 to 35 year age group because I thought that was the group that needs most help. Unfortunately, it's the age group that sadly has been probably job wise affected worse by the last 18 months or so.
Mhm.
So I broadened my horizon a bit. But there's no, I mean, people are now buying their first property, whether it's investment or residential, at a later age now, anyway,
Yeah.
largely down to affordability. So it's there, it's available for everybody to do, and I make sure that I give support to everybody. So there are videos there, but there's also the opportunity to ask me questions. So anybody that orders the full course, full 777 course, gets my support all the way through to the first completion. Because I think it's not just, I don't want to be just a talking head to people.
Mhm.
People need support. It's fine. You can, otherwise, what's different from me being might as well buy a book. So
Yeah.
I'm there to support people on their journey, and passionate about passing on the knowledge that allowed me to retire early. So
Mhm.
I want other people to be able to achieve that and achieve what I've achieved through too many achieves, to succeed where I did. So yeah, if I can help people, then that's exactly why I set up to pass on knowledge, because I think passionately believe that having knowledge and not passing it on is almost criminal. So,
Of
you
course.
know, I've got the knowledge, so and now the platform to be able to pass it on. So, Tivgrow is born.
It's actually quite interesting because there are a plethora of property investing courses, whether it's done through video or through conferences or just one-to-one training, mentorship, whichever. Like for somebody who's wanting to get into property investing that has no knowledge, there's actually a lot of places they can go to
Yeah.
gain that knowledge. What made you create an actual application, a mobile application, as opposed to the standard model of using, let's say, YouTube, for example? If you're doing videos, and even if you wanted to add a paywall to that so they can actually pay for your services, you can do that through YouTube now. Why go through the headache of creating an actual app and trying to get people to engage there?
Well, the bit of the history of the app. So I am also involved with another app, and that preceded this. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm involved with another app called Property. So it's property without the Y,
Mm-hmm.
by the same company, Expert Apps in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And I was involved with that. The business model changed over time. So originally, I bought into property as a sub license holder for crowdfunding, which is one of my passions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But so I bought the crowdfunding license, and the business model at that time was to bring in experts, and people would just subscribe to say that expert. So you would have an app that had crowdfunding, buy-to-lets, HMOs, etc., different categories, and you'd have different experts within that. So that was the original intention. The model changed, but and as a result of that time, the same company offered me Tivgrow. So not long before then, I'd taken a customer. So I originally set Tivgrow up only as a Facebook page, which is still going, but somebody approached me from there, and wanted me to get involved with property, and I agreed to do some property viewings in North London. Took him around. I think we did 3 or 4 sessions of viewings in Walthamstow, Chingford, around that area, and a couple of times I corrected, and pointed out problems that the estate agent hadn't spotted. So of course, in his eyes, I was like God. So why aren't you passing this knowledge on? Was his answer in the pub when we went in and discussed it afterwards. So the original intention was to do it onto a website, because obviously that's the traditional way of doing it. But almost at the same time, I was offered the opportunity of my own app, and it was just the perfect opportunity to do it. So the app has the convenience, but there is a desktop version of the app as well. So I'm conscious that if people are looking at a video course, albeit that the video course is largely an interview, me being an interview for most part of the course, because what we wanted to do was to recreate the kind of atmosphere that we were having when we talked about this. So a discussion in a pub, and we actually even thought about filming it in a pub at one stage, but decided that wasn't maybe the politically correct way to do it. So we decided not to do that. But it happened that we discussed it at the same time, and it was just the perfect opportunity. So the course was specifically designed to go on an app. It wasn't specifically designed for a website, which 99.9% of courses are. So it was designed to go, and I say it was designed to be bite-sized. And for ages, I shied away from creating a YouTube channel. Just didn't want to do it. Various reasons for that, but now there is a Tivgrow Media YouTube channel, and I've started to release the videos from the first module of the 777 course, because the first module is free. Then there are 3 other modules that are paid. But the first module, I think that people don't know me. I know that. So why would they trust me to teach them what to do? I mean, okay, I am a landlord, and I would say it's helped me to retire. But people need to. You have to build up trust, don't you,
Of course.
with your customers, regardless of whatever you're doing. So I decided to give away the first module for free, and the first 12 videos are weekly being released onto YouTube, and I'm changing the video. One of those videos is on the Tivgrow website as well. So each week I change. Every Monday I change that to the next one. So
Okay.
so over a period of 12 weeks, people are actually going to get to see the whole apprentice module for free on YouTube. And if they like that style, they like what I'm saying, then hopefully they'll download the app and subscribe to the 3 paid modules. So you have to give value, don't you, these days?
Of course, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of the reason why I shied away from YouTube. Didn't really understand it, to be perfectly honest. And you know, as you can see, I'm not a spring chicken, so it takes some time for the little grey cells to register some things about social media and what people actually are looking at. So yes, I was persuaded, and yeah, I'm happy with the content that's on there. So yes, you can't escape. You put Tivgrow into Google, you can't escape my ugly mug appearing all over the place, and it being on various different social media platforms. So yeah, it's a multimedia concept now. I think I'd like to say that. It sounds good.
it's actually really good. Like in terms of the success rate so far, how has it been with the people who actually use your app?
I mean, I've got a couple of star players who have recommended, tremendously recommended. One that has been an absolute star performer. So there are others that have done the course, but there's 2 that stand out in particular. One that I'm somebody that if you challenge me to do something or tell me it can't be done, then I'm going to find a way to do it. So yeah. Somebody told me I couldn't possibly set up a 5-day challenge on an app. So I did it. And at the end of the 5-day challenge, one of the guys just learned so much and changed his mindset so much that on the Friday he finished the course. On the Sunday he was talking to an investor that had £10 million to invest in his business. So just by sort of changing somebody's way of thinking, and I like to think I'm a good listener. Plainly, I like to talk about property because you barely had a word in edgeways, but it is a passion. Once I get started talking about property, I'll just talk forever. But so yeah, being able to see, even if it's just that one person that I've seen help, and the change in him, the confidence, the self-confidence that he's got, and all that's all just listening to him, just listening to what he needs, where he needs guidance. You know, and I'm not going to embarrass him by saying his name. Probably shouldn't be doing that anyway. But yeah, he's been a tremendous success. So yeah, there are people looking at the app all the time. We've just had an upgrade. Which went a little bit longer than it should have done. So the app was kind of down for the month of June. We're back though, and a few new ideas coming in particular. I'm going to give too much away, but certainly something to do with live videos within the app. We're going to be doing that. So we can already do a link to Zoom. I can sync. So I could have synced this, for example, into the app, so people could be simulcasting this, but
directly.
Yeah. So it's so many different possibilities with that. The fact it is the flexibility of it being on an app, and the fact that that phone which is never away from our side, is it? It's always in our pocket regardless. We go to bed with it next to our bed, so that phone is always there available to people, and that's what I wanted. That's the reason really why I went for the app version rather than the website version, simply because of flexibility and availability.
So have you had to seek funding in order to kind of build a team out or to build the platform itself? You've just been able to bootstrap it yourself?
Not for Tivgrow, because I put money into the other app,
And then they
And
gave you,
because I put
okay, yeah.
money into that, I basically I wouldn't say they transferred the funds, but basically, let's say the Tivgrow app is relatively free compared to the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
app.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just an enhancement, and so Tivgrow has minimal running costs in terms of the actual app. But and I call myself semi-retired. In theory, I'm fully retired from the university, but the semi bit is Tivgrow, that's for sure. So
Yeah,
at
yeah.
times more busy than I was at the uni, but that's fine. I'm doing something that I believe in now and something that I'm passionate about. So I don't mind how much time I spend on it. So,
So, so,
if I can help people, that's the be all and end all for me.
of course. So in regards to the other platform that you were originally creating in terms of the crowdfunding, I mean, from crowdfunding to what Tivgrow does is a huge pivot. What made you stop? Because there are still other crowdfunding platforms, and they seem to be doing really well. Like, what stopped you from pursuing that platform?
I mean, I still crowdfunding is that I do feature crowdfunding on the Tivgrow app, but you
Okay.
have to be very careful with that. I can't I can't recommend crowdfunding as a form
Yeah.
of investment.
Yeah.
And everybody should be doing their due diligence, just in case anybody's watching. In terms of any kind of investment, I remain a keen crowdfunding enthusiast. I particularly startups. I'm a big fan of trying to help, particularly UK businesses. And over the last 18 months, obviously startups have probably been hit more than any other. There was the Future Fund that was created by the government to help that. And so I've continued to invest in crowdfunding projects, and that's included PropTech. But I invest in startups from anything from a tent manufacturer to a company that makes toilet tissue out of bamboo, to somebody that creates road surfaces out of used lorry tires,
Wow.
all manner of different things. I'd
Yeah.
like to. My view is to assess the project first. I have to like the idea, but then the people behind it, they have to have a track record, because plainly as a startup, there's very little financials to go on, and you can put as many projections out there as you like, but if you don't have the right idea and can't attract customers to it, it doesn't matter what the financials say. So my view is I buy into the idea and the people within the company. So that's where I go from. So yeah, I think I looked it up before I joined here. So I think I've got about 40 startups that I invest in, and about 5 of those are PropTech. So
Okay.
so yeah, I think it's property and tech and apps in particular. There's such a good mix. I say
Yeah.
convenience, and the people that tend to invest in property and look for PropTech services, such as what you're trying to set up, they're often busy business people
Hmm.
that will be well, now we can travel again, be traveling, and the convenience of actually having that in their pocket, that makes such a big difference. So yeah, PropTech, I think in particular lends itself very well to an app, and particularly to raising funds and crowdfunding.
No, of course. I was even surprised myself, joining a few different prop tech groups and networking events, meeting people from all over the world and speaking to them about their solutions that they're creating. It's such a wide area that I had a very narrow view on in terms of property that goes into waste management, facilities, it can go into you name it. So it's actually it's actually an industry that's gonna explode over the next few years.
It is. I mean, it's a matter of convenience, isn't it? I mean, we could. everybody makes their own choices in terms of where to invest in property. They have people have different strategies. A lot of people will just have one strategy. So I'm a buy to let investor, but I consider crowdfunding as an alternative strategy as well. But other, some people will have HMOs, rent to rent, etc. Different strategies, and again, they lend themselves to the convenience of being on an app. And if you can have an app that covers all of that, and particularly when it comes to managing properties, I think that's the thing. Particularly when we're managing, so estate agents and letting agents obviously have been badly affected over the last 18 months. So as more and more companies move online, not just in property sphere, but across all manner of different things, people are now more used to doing this, aren't they? The Zoom calls, Zoom, 18 months ago, Zoom wasn't even in their vocabulary. So, people have got more used to using tech now, even people of my age. And so, that's the future. It is, without a doubt, it's the future. I think I can see apps replacing websites in the not too distant future as the most popular form of communication. I think that's the way it's going. The only limit on apps is your imagination, I think, to be honest.
No, it's very true. It is very true. And they've even got progressive web applications, PWAs. When I was looking at creating my app, that is an option that I considered before in terms of creating. It's basically a website, but it has integrated features that look and feel as if it's a native app, as if it's on your iPhone or on an Android. However, it can work on all platforms, laptop, tablets, everything. And those type of, I mean, it's not anything new, but it's those type of things that reduce the barriers to entry, and it allows people like us who are in an industry and find an opportunity where a solution can be created, and it makes it affordable for the most part. And you can get a MVP put together and actually test your solution out.
Yeah, and I think there's to my mind, there's a slightly illogical fear for people downloading an app onto their phone. I find that occasionally, not all the time, but people. Partly, it's governed by the device that they're downloading it onto and how much memory is available on there. But I think there is people that apps can have a very short shelf life because they can be fashionable. You just have to look at the game market on apps, and something can be fashionable for 3 months and then you'll never hear of it again, and they'll scrap it and start again. So it's important, if you've got an app, to always be relative to what your customer wants. You need to be flexible and available, but also I think you have to keep up to date with all the things. So I've recorded the property calls, but from time to time, this government in particular likes to add new legislation into it. So the beauty of it being on an app is I can record it here at home and just substitute the video for an updated version. So it's much more flexible than trying to sit in a studio, get together a videographer and so on. So the flexibility of it is, to my mind, outweighs the advantages of having a web page.
No, of course, and I think it's also being able to pull from other data sources as well. You literally have everything in your phone in terms of your account details. You have your location, simple things as such your Facebook or Instagram profiles, and you can easily connect these things and log in. And I just find that at the moment, while things are, it's still early days, put it that way. It's still early days for it all, and especially with 5G and the Internet of Things and the way things are progressing.
Absolutely. I mean, you can get a doctor's appointment by app now. You can actually speak to a doctor on your phone now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have seen that 2 years ago. So, there's so many different possibilities with it. I mean, the smartphones are changing all the time. I think I could see that's the biggest obstacle that I find. This is going to probably lose a few people watching this, but I am not a fan of iPhones. So I'm an Android user, and the multi layers of Android phones out there is difficult to administer for web developers, simply because you have to configure something to a Samsung phone, to a Hawaii phone, or
Yeah.
Huawei, or however you pronounce it, to an LG phone. So it's very difficult for app developers to take that on board. So yes, as technology improves for the user, it probably doesn't do any favors to the developers at all.
No, it's very true. So saying that, like, what is the end goal for Tivgrow?
Potentially, but potentially, if I mean, so I'm 61, so I don't really want to do this beyond, I'd say 65, but my character is that I won't be able to let it go when I get to 65. I just know. So either I'll sell it on, but I think maybe potentially franchising it to other countries, because I think if it's successful in the UK now, obviously the buying a property in the US or Spain or whatever is entirely different. So there are different rules, but the business model works regardless of what country you're in. Now, obviously, probably the UK is just about the biggest in terms of investment, people wanting to invest in property, because we have such a buoyant market. There obviously is an element of property investment in other countries, but this is probably the most buoyant market around. So it wouldn't work in every country, but certainly the possibility of franchising abroad is something I've thought about. That could happen. Even making strategic partnerships with people who have similar apps abroad. If I'm all about wanting to provide a service for my customers, so I'm not blinkered enough to think that a customer might not want to diversify and buy a property in Italy or something. So if I had a strategic partnership with a similar app or similar property company in Italy, I'd be more than happy to do that. So yeah, I think building up strategic relationships, potential for franchising, but always putting the customer first. That's the thing I say most is that property is my passion, but helping people is my mission, and that's just not a throwaway line. It's reality. I want people to be able to there should be no barriers to being involved in property, and it's again why the company tagline is simple property education, because I think there's too much jargon in property at times. We use acronyms all the time. So to the uninitiated, what is BMV? What is LTV? We do it all the time. We're all guilty of it, that we're in property. So I tried to break it down and try to bring it down to the base level to explain things, because it's I think when you have knowledge of a particular product or service or industry, it's so easy to assume that people know what you assume, what you know. So my style has always been to break it down and take it down to the base level, so that, and if you already know it, then just ignore that a little bit. But I want to sort of really take it down to the basics and help people that way. And I will spend time on whatever people want to ask me. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a stupid question. In fact, often it's a very good question that I might not even know the answer to, but I'll find out. So yeah, I think that's another thing, isn't it? The interactivity with an app is probably better than a website, I think.
No, I agree. So then, if you had just one piece of advice for someone like myself or like yourself who are in property and wanting to create the next PropTech solution, what would it be?
Be an expert in your field, is the thing. So nobody's going to buy from you if you haven't already gone there, done it, bought the t-shirt kind of thing. So you have to prove to people that you have the experience, that you've succeeded in what you do. We've all seen property courses. We can go through Facebook and people are setting up mentoring courses and probably don't even own a property. So, do your due diligence. As a customer, I would say do your due diligence. But as somebody setting up an app or trying to set up training courses, be a mentor, let people know what your history is. Don't be afraid to admit that you may have made mistakes in the past. I'm readily available. I say I'm across all manner of different social media. You can't escape me. So, I'm more than happy to talk to somebody. And if you decide I'm not the right one to talk to, then fine. But I would say be an expert in your field, and in general, take action on it. Because it's great having a dream, but unless you take action, it's still a dream. So,
and couldn't say it better myself. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.